Welcome to PNRShow, Season 1, Episode 24, Local.
I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over strife. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over strife.
Good evening, interwebs. It's the Pint of No Return show. We are your, I was going to say daily, but we haven't quite made it to daily.
Oh, God.
We can barely do weekly.
Daily.
It's your weekly, nearly weekly, semi-weekly, quasi-weekly, one-stop shop.
Weekly.
Yes. On occasion.
And some would say very weekly.
Yes, very weak. W-E-A-K.
That's right.
Your quasi-weekly source for beer reviews and general all-around fun and frivolity. You'll notice that, though, this week on episode 24, as I was talking with Keith before the show, that this is the Jack Bauer episode, that we are short. We seem to be a couple of beer drinkers light, a couple of Californians light this evening.
Yeah. West Coast gave up, called it in, phoned it in, and didn't even phone it in. They went home.
I mean, let's be honest. California's about ready to fall into the sea anyway.
It's true. They might be just preparing for that.
Yeah. So
Aria's camping trip is out of state. So
I think he's scouting new locations.
I think so too.
Yeah, he's going to become an Oregonian.
Mm-hmm.
An Oregon?
He's going to become an Oregon. Yes, that's that's how you refer to people in Oregon.
An Oregon donor? Yeah.
Organs.
So he's off camping, and
when they give people away, those are the organ donors.
And Jeremy is. What is Jeremy doing?
He's just given up.
Yeah.
He's gone home. He's wimped out.
I tell you,
something. He said he had to work late or something like that.
There's something in the water.
Priorities.
There's something in the water in California, or really something in the lack of water in California. I thought
is the water is so little out there that it's concentrated. So whatever is in the water is more potent now.
It's like heavy water.
Yes, that's right.
It's like deuterium. I actually saw an article, was it yesterday or the day before, that said that California's lack of water is going to lead to more earthquakes. So good times, California. Enjoy it, Golden State.
I can see that logic because I'm less likely to shake when I'm wet.
See, I'm more likely to shake when I'm wet, like a dog.
You're more dog-like. See, for me, I just stand there and drip dry. Yeah. I just try to stand still, and I feel the water just roll down my body.
So, this is going to be a very special episode of PNR show. But what is that? I mean, is it the plates, the tectonic plates, becoming more brittle and then more likely to like collapse and fall on each other like ash?
I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't think that the groundwater level would affect something that deep.
I don't know.
Because you're talking about groundwater levels are what are affected by droughts. So
right.
It's really the first anywhere from 4 feet to maybe 20 feet. Yeah, that's affected for the most part. If you're in a serious drought, it maybe go down 80 or 100 feet because that'd be out of range of a well. But
yeah, I think the takeaway from this, and that's a work phrase that we like to use. The takeaway.
Oh, is that what you use in the banking industry?
Yeah, the takeaway from this is that if you're packing your car. If you're packing your car to relocate to California, you may want to reconsider, someplace a little less arid. I don't know, like Arizona. Someplace with a little more water.
I love Arizona.
Arizona is nice.
It's dry, but it's beautiful.
My sister lives in Tucson, so I've been there several times to visit her. And the old expression, "It's not the heat, it's the humidity." Trust me, in the summertime, it's hot. It's just 110 is hot.
Yeah. I had the same thing. I've been to Vegas a few times in the summertime, And our most recent trip, I was commenting on how it really is the humidity, because I was looking at it being outside and it was like 110, and it didn't feel like 110. But then I looked at my shoes that were actually melting.
Shoes.
Yes, I was actually melting my shoes to the pavement as I had this discussion. And I went, oh, maybe it is the heat.
Keith's shoes starting to look like vanilla fondant.
Yes, exactly.
Well, anyway, we're going to try to soldier on through the episode without the California boys. Let's see if we can make something out of it. We want to start off by thanking, of course, the Poxy Boggards and Stu Venable for the use of their theme song. You can find them on iTunes, poxyboggards.com. Thank you, Stu. You can find us, PNRShow.com. That's our website. There's links there for feedback and ways of contacting all the fellas. You can reach out to us on the Twitter machine. I'm at RebRob. Keith is at WolfmanK. Jeremy is at Always Breaking. And Gary is at Always Breaking, and Jeremy is at Jeremy Brooks. See, even when they're not here, I had to find some way to mix them
up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of changing my online persona. What do you think? Is it too late? Did I build too much of a brand around Wolfman K?
What are you thinking of changing it to?
Well, that would be a surprise.
Penelope Clearwater?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I could see you like as a little British girl. With a parasol.
That's odd of you to see me that way. Very odd, Rob. I wonder about you.
I've often thought.
I do like parasols, though. I've always had an odd fascination with them.
See, I knew. So this evening on the Pie of No Return show, Keith and I have decided to do a BYO show. Bring your own, and we're just reaching out for something local.
Well, yeah, that was our theme is because I have sent out New York summer beers to all the boys, but I want to wait for everybody to be in house to have those. Although with our shortened time frame left for the summer, Rob, we were kicking around the idea of doing 2 beers an episode when we start those.
Oh.
So just a heads up there.
Okay.
There might be some fun shows.
Stretch it out into the fall.
We could, but I think it would be better to get through them a little quicker. Because I did send out 10 beers each. That's 10 weeks of shows. So making them 5 with our normal schedule, it's still going to be end of September before we're done.
And my box did arrive today, or at least I picked it up today, from someone else's house.
Excellent. I'm glad you were able to find it.
Yes, they are now chilling in the refrigerator, cooling down from their robust 120-degree temperature, I'm sure.
Awesome.
I'm sure that'll be great for the hops.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. So there's a lot of beers in there.
There should be 10 if none of them broke.
There were no broken bottles, so I took out whatever was in there.
Nice.
I wasn't counting. I did notice a lot of IPAs though.
I don't think there's too many.
Well,
I mean, 2.
Let's
2 out of 10.
Let's agree on
what's. There might be another pale ale in there, which isn't an IPA but a PA. But yeah, I don't think there's too many. There should be a bunch of other things too that are really going to tickle your fancy there.
Well, we should really agree on what's too many.
Yeah, 2 is too many.
What constitutes too many? Yeah. Anyway, so our BYO show, I went with an old brewery favorite for us here at the Pine of No Return show. We had a really good time with our Shiner unit that I sent out to the boys from Texas, and kind of doing the low-carb thing, the low dieting thing, losing some weight on that. It's going pretty good, so I decided, hi, honey, wife just came home.
Hey, wife.
Hello. It was her birthday a couple days ago.
I know, I saw it.
She's so excited. So I went back to the boys at Shiner, and one of my favorite beers is their light blonde. Believe it or not, their light beer. They have a light blonde, and you can't call it a light beer unless it has less than 100 calories. So of course, yes.
Distinguishing mark.
Yeah. So of course the Shiner blonde clocks in at 99.
Nice.
So just under the wire.
Most flavor that they can squeeze in there. That's good.
Yeah. I really enjoy it, and looking forward to drinking it on the show. Keith, what do you have?
Well, I have, we went local because without the West Coasters here, we didn't want to do anything even related to California or West Coast beer. So I have a new favorite local-ish brewing company, and that is Upstate.
Oh, okay.
Upstate beer, and usually they have this lovely, very simple white can with black writing. They have two flavors that I've seen so far. I'm sure they have more at the brewery, but that's made it to Rochester from now. They're actually brewed in Elmira, New York.
Okay.
But they have two flavors, and the other flavor is easy to tell apart because it's a black can with white writing. So
there you go.
Pretty easy to distinguish. They come in 16 fluid ounce pint cans. And they run a 4-pack for $10. So
it's pretty good.
A little on the pricey side, but not too bad.
And is it just me? I mean, does that logo look like it's kind of flipping me off?
It does. It is somewhat phallic as well.
Well, it's an arrow. Maybe that's
an arrow. It is an arrow.
Yeah, because New York's motto is Excelsior, which means ever upward. So maybe that's what that's for.
Well, it's interesting to me that. For this brew to be called Upstate Brewing Company, it was actually brewed in Elmira, which is considerably south of me. It's almost on the Pennsylvania border, but it is up if you think of it as a New York City standard.
Yeah,
definitely upstate. So
I've been lived in New York City in the New York City area for nearly 8-9 years. The definition of upstate is anything north of Westchester, which is the county directly above the Bronx.
That's upstate. Anything north of Yonkers.
That's Westchester. Yeah.
Westchester is upstate. Beyond that is they're just convinced nobody lives.
It's just desolate.
It's just desolate cows and farmers.
Cows and maybe some apples.
Yeah.
And some
So I can still remember. Going down to see you perform when we were all in Poughkeepsie. You were performing at a little showcase in Yonkers.
New Rochelle.
And Cindy and I came down to see that performance. If you've never heard the show before, Rob is quite an accomplished opera singer. So anyway, we came down and got to watch this. And there was little bios in the program of each of the singers because they were up-and-coming rising stars in the opera world. And they had said that Rob was residing in Poughkeepsie right then, and there was two old ladies behind us that kept talking about Poughkeepsie and trying to figure out how far away that was, and how I mean, where did we travel? We traveled like 45 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah, maybe a little longer, but yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out. Oh, that's so far upstate.
Hinterland.
Yeah, they're like, I can't believe he came all the way down for this. I can't believe they have singers up there. I didn't think the heathens knew opera.
Yeah, when I first
we were going on and on and on, and my wife can probably do it better than me, but it was so funny to listen to. We were just rolling while we were waiting for the show to start.
Yeah, when I first started singing professionally, I lived with Keith and his wife for about 2 years.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And in Poughkeepsie, and the commute down. Well, the commute down to New York City is pushing 2 hours, so it was a long commute taking it by train. It was. I got a lot of books.
But New Rochelle was not that far.
Well, no, I mean you have to go
just down 84 a little way.
just to the east of Yonkers, actually. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough on our progression. Oh, by the way, the whole upstate thing. I was considered. Since I told them that I was from the Rochester area, they consider the Rochester Buffalo that to be the Midwest.
Yeah,
that's right. Technically Midwest America.
Western New York is what the rest of us call it, but no, they say it's the Midwest. Yeah. Cowboys live there.
There's that classic animated map of basically the whole New York City skyline, and then beyond it, it says the rest of the world. So, little locale centric New Yorkers are, but that's why it's such a fun place. Anyway,
it is a fun place.
But we digress. Let's drink beer.
Yes.
I'm gonna go Texas style and not pour this in a glass tonight. Oh, it smells so good.
Drinking it from the long neck.
When I drink this, I can't believe it's a light beer, but so good.
So I told you about the company, but I didn't tell you what beer I was drinking.
Oh, what is the beer from the upstate folks? It's a little cloudy.
Very cloudy. This is their... I'm going to actually tell you about both their beers because I've had them both this week, and they're both worth talking about. But what I'm drinking tonight is the IPW, which is India-style pale wheat.
Whoa!
So this is a cross brew or a crossbred beer. It's a wheat, but it's an IPA. It's a wheat, but it's an IPA. It's a wheat, but it's an IPA.
I think I got it.
So
I think I understand.
So because I have a bit of a diatribe to do about this company and these beers. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Very clean, crisp taste. I love the nice wheat aroma comes off the blonde like you would expect, and I'm sure if Gary and Jeremy were here, they would say that it's a little better than drinking water, but there's actually quite a bit of depth to the light blonde for a light beer. The blondes always have that kind of rounded sweetness to it that kind of helps to lift up the wheat taste a little bit, and it's got a nice rounded finish to it, and it's everything that I really enjoy in a blonde, with just a lot few. It's my favorite light beer to drink if it's around, and much preferred, of course, over the Miller Lights or Corona Lights or whatever else the Texas folks drink down here. So yeah, solid 8.
Yeah, I said a little while ago that this summer we finally got Shiner in New York, and there was much rejoicing. And not only do we have the regular Shiner Bock, which is a classic, wonderful beer, but we were getting the seasonals and the mixed packs and some of the other stuff. But I have yet to see the light blonde.
It's on its way.
So hopefully it is, because actually I would go for a good craft light beer. That's something that nobody has tackled really well yet. So I'd be curious to try it.
Well, I mean, for the like things like Miller Lite and those Coors Light, those kind of things, the Michelob Ultras, which are like in the 60 to 80 calorie range. This one's got a little bit more body to it, and it just tastes like it didn't come out of a factory. It still has a kind of like a craft brewed taste, which is why I really enjoy it. So
yeah,
really good. All right, how's your upstate?
Okay, I'm going to talk about both the upstate beers right now, because I did buy both the white can and the black can. And although I'm not drinking the black can right now,
Keith is equal opportunity.
I want to talk about it first. It's actually really an interesting beer, and I would recommend, if you can get upstate brewing company anywhere, to pick up both flavors, the IPW and what they're calling the Kentucky Common Ale. That's just what's in the black can. Now, the story behind this is actually a history lesson. Prohibition in the United States really is a weird time in our history, and it affected so many things that are still echoing around today, and a lot of it is still in the beer industry. So what Upstate did was they went and found, doing some research on some different brews, is they found a brew style that's not being made anymore, called Kentucky Common Ale, which is kind of the best way to describe it is it's a very dark cream ale. It's a very dark amber cream ale. It was very popular in the Kentucky area pre-Prohibition, but all the breweries that made it didn't survive Prohibition and never came back, so the style just died out. So they kind of went back into the archives and figured out the recipe and balanced everything again and started making it again. And it's really good. Rob, you would like it. It's a dark amber in color, but it's got that cream ale head and drinkability to it. It's really nice. It's just a touch of hops on it. Really sweet. Goes down smooth and is very, very good. But if I had to pick only one of them to do on the show tonight, it's not that one. Even though I think that one's excellent, this is their masterpiece. This IPW is a perfect example of a blending between the IPA and an American wheat ale. It is hoppy and bright and citrusy up front, and the silky, smooth finish of a wheat ale, and it is perfectly balanced. You don't get any hiccups along the way. It just goes down. It's super easy to drink, but still gives you those really upfront knockout hops on the front end. And it's 6.5 alcohol by volume in a 16-ounce can. It's a winner for me. This beer is, well, I rated it on Untapped yesterday, 4.5 out of 5, so I guess that makes it a 9 on our scale.
Awesome.
So it is really good. You would not like this because of the IPA front end, but it would be interesting to see you taste it because the finish is so nice and light and smooth. It really, the hops like disappear by the time you swallowed it. It's really neat beer.
Nice.
I have never seen, I've had a few of these before where people are trying to do IPAs and wheats, and nobody's done it as well as this. So the guys in Elmira got something done right when they did this one. And I'm eager to, I found it after I sent the beers out. Otherwise, I probably would have shipped some out to the West Coast guys because I bet they would really like this.
Very cool. Nice. From the folks at Upstate.
So Upstate Brewing doing some really interesting historic beer and also combining some of the modern day styles into something new and different, and doing both well. So I look forward to seeing more from them.
Cool. Okay. So moving on to our topics, we didn't really have any official topics this evening. Keith and I are going back old school to the Happy Time Magic Hour days where we did it a little more loosey-goosey. So, you know, literally about 30 seconds before Keith hit that record button, we said, hey, how about doing some top 5 lists? And so we came up with 2 that we just like to run through, and these are going to kind of be off the top of our head. So hopefully standards and practices is not going to hold us to whatever we say, because we may leave something out that was really good. But we're going to start with our first one, iOS apps or tablet apps or mobile device apps. Your top 5 mobile device apps. At least, I mean, they can be your top 5 all time, or if you want, because there's so many, you could just go top 5 current if you wanted to.
Well, at this point, if an app isn't getting used on any of my devices, it gets tossed. I just don't have the space to keep too many things around that are...
Like used what? Like within the month or a week or what?
Well, no, I'll give it more than that. But, I mean, if I haven't touched it in 6 months, it's out of there. I mean, if I paid for it, Apple's real good about that. So if you pay for it, you can always re-download it if you think you need it. But, you know, even on my iPad mini, which is pretty big at 64 gigabytes, I just don't want to keep them around. They just clutter up things. They sit in my folders. I don't need them. Yeah. So I wonder what... my iPad says my most recently used apps are. I don't think they are in there.
No, they don't do that.
They don't do that. So I'm just going to have to look it over here and see if I can figure out what I'm using all the time. And I'll tell you, one of the things I use every day, Google Maps, for sure. Occasionally the built-in maps, but only when I'm using Siri, really, do I use those. So my go-to maps are Google Maps. I still use Flipboard a lot. That's a good one for just reading news and current events and stuff. And even things like Facebook but in like more of a magazine flipbook style. And then I'm into games because that's what I do. My iPad is my free time. Hey, I've got 5 minutes. What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And games for me, right now, I am way into Hearthstone. And that is by far probably the best game on my iPad right now. But I have a few other ones that are really notable and nice. Let's see here. FTL is really fun. Game that I don't play enough of anymore. We talked about it probably a couple months ago, probably more than that. But it's just an interesting little manage a spaceship type game that we talked about, and I got everybody hooked on. And then the other one that I play when I just need something to do for a few minutes is I still play Smash Hit, which is that one with the metal ball that just smashes through the glass. There's something very cathartic about breaking things. And if you've only got 2 minutes in a dentist office or even a traffic light, just go smash some stuff. That's a great game. So I guess that's my top 5 for what I'm doing. What do you do, Rob?
Well, talking about recently, I have been playing a lot of FTL in the last week or so. Now, I had to wait until just a few weeks ago when I got my iPad mini for my birthday because my devices, my iPhone couldn't play FTL because it's a pad-only device, and my other iPad was a first generation, so it didn't have the iOS system. Operating system wasn't advanced enough to carry it, so I had to wait until just a few weeks ago. Started playing it and put it down pretty quickly. Didn't quite understand it, didn't quite get it. I mean, I knew what it was about. I took the tutorial, went through it, blah, blah, blah. So, listening to the Secret Cabal podcast, which I mentioned last week, my favorite podcast right now, and they were talking about some of their favorite co-op and simultaneous board games, and one of them that they mentioned was Space Alert. And Space Alert is a kind of a cooperative dice throwing frantic game where you try to save a ship from different things that are happening, and they were theorizing that much of what happens in FTL seems to be directly parallel, or not lifted. I don't want to say lifted because this is a different animal, but it seems very similar to that game. So I went back to it, kind of slogged it out. And the thing with with FTL that I found is you just got to kind of accept the fact that your initial ships are just going to get toasted.
Yeah.
They're going to get wasted.
Yeah, you're going to be lucky. You're going to get halfway through the thing, and at that point, you're going to die on your next move.
But if you get far enough, you can gradually kind of progress far enough, and you get access to better ships that have better starting stats and better starting crewmen, and then you start getting farther into sectors. So it just kind of feeds off of itself, and I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It's a good can game, which is kind of sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
Those kind of games are always fun to play. So yeah, FTL is one of my current favorites right now. I also have been playing a lot of Elder Sign, which is a Cthulhu-based dice game that's available on iOS. And
looking that up.
It is it's actually much better than the board game that it's based on. It's perfect for the iOS. You pick 4 investigators who are investigating a mansion in Arkham, which is the location that Cthulhu takes place in, and different things are coming through rifts or holes in the fabric of space-time, or however you want to say it, and you have to roll. It's a dice rolling game, and it also has a bit of a gambling mechanic in it where you have to not wager, but kind of guess whether it's better to go after this quest or that quest, and have to succeed at accomplishing so many elder signs before your world fills up with doom tokens, or there are too many monsters you can't get past it. So I'm playing a lot of Elder Sign. It's very fun. I can do that on the iPhone.
I just looked it up on iTunes, and it has one of the things that would normally turn me off to this game is these little screenshots that they give.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that'll come through on mine, but they say test your sanity, search for clues, and they don't actually show any screenshots from the game. They just kind of show you some like action pictures and then these bullshit lines. And normally that's the type of stuff I see that's for all these things that are trying to trick you into spending more and more money, and I'm not into that stuff at all.
That's all just kind of fluff.
Yeah, so I would normally stay away from this, but you're saying it's a great game.
I enjoy it. I mean, there are in-app purchases. There are so many old monsters that you can go up against in Cthulhu before there aren't anymore, and you can always face them again with different investigators. There's like, I think, 8 or 10 or 12 different types of investigators that all have their own powers and can do different things, and you can buy more apps or buy more modules to kind of increase the number of monsters you can go up against. But even the base set is just fine to play with. And I probably won't.
It is $7 too on the iPad.
It's a little pricey.
That combined with those goofy pictures that don't actually show me screenshots would totally turn me off. But that's why I count on these
well, the other thing, this may not be a turnoff for you or not, or it is. It doesn't play multiplayer. It's a single player game, but that doesn't usually tend to be a big thing for you.
No. A lot of my time, I'm just looking to get in, get out, and I've got 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and a lot of my days, that's all I've got for gaming anymore. And so if I can spend a half hour on something a day, it's going to be probably 3 10-minute increments.
My third app would probably be Flipboard, just because it's so customizable, and it's amazing how intuitive it can be depending on if you put in the stuff that you like, and it just brings in great stories that you can quickly share, quickly read. Again, it's a very much a get in, get out type of reading thing. Basically your own internet magazine. That pulls from.
The only thing I don't like about Flipboard is having to wait for it to refresh when I first start it.
Yeah.
I don't know any way around that, but I would love it if it were already refreshed when I went in there.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a great app.
My number 3 game, or number 4, I should say, my number 4 app is, I guess these are all being current stuff. Le Havre, I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. It's a resource, kind of European type game where you play against other players. You're gathering resources and building buildings and building ships in a French harbor town to accomplish victory points. You can play multiplayer or single player. It takes a little bit of a learning curve to get the hang of it, but it is a lot of fun and a great game to pick up and put down. And my last one, last two would probably be a tie between HBO Go, that great app where you can literally watch any series that HBO has ever done, which, if you know HBO, there's a lot of high-quality series, and, of course, Netflix. Netflix on the iPad is like one of the greatest things ever. If only because my wife tends to like to watch a lot of different shows than I do. So when there's a show coming on, a reality show usually, that I just can't bear to watch, out comes the iPad and my headphones, and I don't even have to put both ears in. Just put one ear in so I can still listen to her and spend time with her and watch something on my own. Netflix is just the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I use, we've got an exercise bike upstairs, and I will use Netflix when I'm on that, and I actually use it as my timer. I'll watch a half-hour show. Lately it's been Clone Wars, so that it goes for like 20 minutes, and I know when the show's done, I'm done on a bike.
Yeah, and they're putting great stuff on there, like Clone Wars and like Sherlock, and they recently just put back up Deep Space Nine on streaming, which they'd taken down, so I'm getting to go back through that because I never finished the series, so that's wonderful. So yeah, all those are really, really good. I mean, those aren't the apps probably that I use the most. I mean, I go to the Drudge Report probably 50 times a day. That's the one I probably use the most, other than email and Facebook. But
why don't you load that into Flipboard?
Drudge? I can, but I don't like how it looks on Flipboard. I'm just used to the very plain black and white
block
look of Drudge. Yeah,
the Drudge
exactly.
Report block.
I know it's probably the least inviting web page that there ever was, website there ever was, and yet it's probably visited more times than any other website in the world, other than maybe Google.
Absolutely no design sense at all.
No.
It's wonderful.
It's a classic aggregate. All right, so our second top 5 list. Let's do this now. This could be hard. Top 5 video games.
All right, so we talked about this before, but what are the ground rules here?
There are none.
There are none. So video game cabinets, video game consoles, video game PCs, video game handhelds.
Let's go with any system, but actual games. Not like saying the Sega Genesis is my favorite. Actual video games.
The actual video games, but we could go with arcade cabinet stuff too.
Yep.
All right. You want to go first? Should we alternate? What do you think?
Or we could say, what's your favorite cabinet game? And
you want
your favorite PC game? Let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's start in the old days and work our way forward with their favorite arcade cabinet game.
Well, for you and I think for me, the cabinets that were at the local bowling alley were our first introduction to video games, really.
Grocery store.
Grocery store, yeah. So yeah.
In there.
For me, it was after bowling, waiting for my parents to pick me up. Left me a few quarters. We were, they thought we were playing pinball, but we were actually all huddled around the few video game cabinets that were there. And there were so many of those early ones that were awesome. Pac-Man, of course, Asteroids. But I have kind of a tie between two.
Okay.
One because it was the first ever really amazing cooperative game. That was a lot of fun, and the other one because it was the first video game I was actually good at.
Oh, all right.
So the one I was actually good at was Missile Command. I could put down a quarter, and I could play for like 45 minutes or an hour on the one quarter on Missile Command. I don't know why that system worked for me with the trackball and the three buttons to fire from your bases, but I could play Missile Command pretty darn well. And it was entertaining, and it was fun, and you got up there in the levels, and it was hectic, and things were going on, and you were just blasting across the screen, making a wall to try to stop those missiles. It was simple gaming, but so satisfying for 8-year-old me.
So people just walked the other way when you were playing Missile Command.
I have no idea because I never turned my head.
There you go. Never needed to.
But the other game that I had so much fun with in an arcade cabinet form was Gauntlet.
Oh yeah.
You got 3 buddies. You came over to a Gauntlet machine. You plopped in a quarter each, and that was. Well, one, it was a huge money suck because if somebody went down, your friends needed you. You had to come up with some money and put that in real quick.
Yep.
So it was probably the first really amazing money suck. But secondly, it was just so much fun to be working together on a video game. Everybody taking a different character and just blasting it away at the mindless hordes that came at you. And I still very occasionally will wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night after seeing my character surrounded by ghosts on all sides, and the 4 of us backed into corners trying to blast them away, and it going, "Elf needs food badly.
Warrior is about to die."
That's right.
I mean, it was literally kind of Dungeons and Dragons brought to life. It made you.
It was the closest thing we had at the time.
Yeah, it was. But you are right about it being a huge money suck, because even if you didn't run into monsters which sucked away your health still ebbed away slowly.
Yep.
So
you needed to keep eating and drinking and stuff.
That whole one quarter thing that Keith had with Missile Command ain't happening with Gauntlet, because eventually you die anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you could find food and boost your health, but if you weren't finding it, you were dying.
Yeah, yeah, and it was just, and there was such peer pressure.
Oh yeah,
because you were in there as part of a team, and if you went down for something stupid you did or whatever, they needed you. Every member of that team was important. You couldn't play.
But there was also
with less than 4.
There was also that awkward social mechanic, because if you were playing Gauntlet by yourself, and some dude that you didn't know came up next to you.
Oh, they could plop in at any time.
They could plop in at any time, and
plop in being the correct term for dropping your quarter in the machine.
Yeah. Sometimes they would ask, like, do the right thing and say, is it okay if I join in? And you'd say, sure, that's no problem. Or oftentimes they would just plop it in and go, and screw you over. Because with Gauntlet, if you went around a corner, the monsters would immediately attract you and start coming after you.
Yeah, right.
If you were dealing with things, if you were dealing with things systematically, taking stuff out, and all of a sudden he popped around the corner and brought all the monsters back with him, you were screwed. So he just not only himself died quickly, but made you lose your quarter's worth that much quicker.
Mm.
But yeah, it was a huge money suck. For me, the game that I was really good at, I'm glad you broke it up this way. The game I was really good at was Galaga.
Ah.
I have logged a lot of hours playing Galaga.
Galaga was fun.
Yeah.
Galaga was the in Space Invaders on steroids.
Yeah. It was Space Invaders, but it was the monsters actually dove in after you.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't have those little buffers to hide behind. But every once in a while, one of those monsters up at the top would swerve down and teleport you up and steal one of your ships, which is horrible. It went away from your total. But if you could be lucky and could shoot that guy down when he came back after you, you could get your ship back and have 2 ships firing at the same time. For that, and you wanted to get it just in time for that challenging stage.
Yep. I logged a few hours in Galaga myself.
A lot of Galaga. And then the other one, I think that was my favorite, but I was no good at, not really any good at, was Dragon's Lair. Dragon's Lair was one of the first of its kind. It was an animated video game made by the folks that did, it was Don Bluth, who used to be a Disney animator and that did Rats of Nim, and I think
it was actually one of the first commercial uses of a Laserdisc.
Yeah.
It was actually a Laserdisc machine inside there that was able to do that.
I first played this game at the State Fair, the New York State Fair, and it cost you 50 cents to play, which was unheard of. Unheard of. And it was ridiculously hard to get through. Now, that is also one of my favorite apps on my iPhone is the original Dragon's Lair.
Oh yeah, you got it. You played it.
Which I've now beaten it many times.
That's awesome.
And let me just say, Princess Daphne is one hot piece of you-know-what. Holy smokes. Wow. So, yeah, those probably are my 2 favorite. All right, let's move on to favorite. We both had Atari, right?
Mm-hmm.
We favorite Atari game.
Baby.
Favorite Atari game?
I'm going to go with one of the classics, and it's because it was a game that just kept me entertained forever. I always went back and played it no matter how many other cartridges I had, and that was the game that came with it, Tank.
Combat?
Yes, Combat. That's what it was. Sorry. I liked it because it wasn't trying to be another game. You could get Pac-Man on the Atari, but it wasn't anything like the Pac-Man on the arcade game. It used the same character and the same methods, but it was a different board because it was shaped to fit your TV screen.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel the same when you played it or anything. I played a ton of Combat, even when no other friends would play with me. I would load up Combat and just play against a static thing on the other board on a really high difficulty, so I had to move around other things and to shoot it. I really liked combat, and I think I'm probably the only one, so this probably makes me a
No, I love
freaking weirdo.
combat too. You know what's great about combat is that you had like 50 or 60 different game variations that you could play.
You had all 99, my friend.
99 game. Okay.
99. You could.
So you could play with
the
like
selector switch all the way up.
You could play with like mazes of walls. You could play with there's like an empty field, you and another tank. You could play with where your shots just if you hit a wall, it's got absorbed. You could play where your shots bounced off of walls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the bounce off ones.
I mean, it was just it's like Keith said, the simple game that came with the machine, but it was a lot of fun.
I used to play. You could play with planes. You could play with
that's
biplanes.
right. Yep.
You could play with triplanes. And it was the same thing. You could play with one plane, or two planes, or three planes.
That's right. I forgot that.
And I used to love to play the plane versions, and like the triplanes in particular. And I don't know why it made any difference to get a plane versus a biplane versus a triplane. It was the same damn game.
It didn't.
It just made you bigger somehow, so maybe you were easier to hit. But I would just sit for hours zooming around the screen.
That's right. I forgot you could be the big, huge plane. That's funny.
Yeah.
My favorite Atari game was one that probably not many people played. I played a lot of Atari growing up, and there are lots of fun games that I really enjoyed. But the one that really was my go-to game was one that came out later, towards when Atari was kind of on the way out. And Activision Pitfall is one of my favorite all-time games.
Oh, Pitfall was awesome.
And Activision actually, let's face it, made the best games for the Atari, in my mind.
Yeah, really were.
But one of my favorites was Space Shuttle, where you could actually go through an entire space shuttle mission. It was the same every time, so there's that. But you can vary the difficulty. You had to monitor your fuel and your pitch and your yaw during takeoff and entering the atmosphere and docking with the space station and doing extra vehicular activity or whatever's and come in for a landing and there wasn't really much of a points. You weren't looking for a high score or anything. It was just accomplishing the mission. And for me, like a huge space geek, and the space shuttle program was going full swing at the time.
Yeah.
Early mid '80s.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun for me. I really enjoyed that one. Okay, let's see what else. So cabinet and Atari game. Should we do like early consoles? I guess Atari is the early console.
Yeah, consoles. Yeah, that was really the first. It wasn't the first, but it was the first really mass accepted. Everybody you knew had an Atari 2600. Mm-hmm. I can remember going to my friend's house before that and playing in television.
Yeah.
And thinking that was amazing.
Which is fun too.
You had the controller with the knob on the top and then this pad.
The little
changed. You got to slide in the paper things that were different for each game.
It looked like a phone. It looked like it had a keypad and like a little disc that you could press on the bottom that kind of swiveled. And then every game, or most games, would come with this overlay that you slid in that told you which button was for what.
That was pretty freaking innovative for the time.
Yeah, it was. And they were really cool. I remember playing a lot of Intellivision baseball at a friend's house.
Yeah, baseball.
That was a great one. And then ColecoVision even later on. ColecoVision, you could pause your game, which is unbelievable. Most kids up till then just peed their pants sitting there on the floor.
That's right. Yeah.
Now
we all played in big vinyl beanbags, and the beauty of that was they were watertight. So you could
scoop it up
yourself several times before it would start overflowing the beanbag.
That sounds like a little too close to home for you.
No, we didn't all do that. I did that.
I don't think so.
I had a big green beanbag, and my brother had a big red one. I remember that very well.
Or how about favorite '90s console game?
All right, so '90s, we're talking what? Sega era?
Sega, Nintendo. Super Nintendo.
I played some Nintendo with my cousin, but I was never a big Nintendo owner. I never really owned anything by Nintendo until the late '90s. I had my first Game Boy. Mm-hmm. And I played the heck out of that. The little black and white handheld Game Boy. Man, what a game changer that thing was.
You actually put different cartridges in.
Yeah, yeah.
Portable game system.
It was affordable. It was so much fun. It was like one of the first things. It came out just after we left college, I think. So I want to say like 97, 98. No.
It was like right. It was maybe while we were in college.
Because I had one, and I didn't have one until after college.
I didn't either.
But I played the heck. I can't remember what the game was called anymore, but it was a game where it was like turn-based strategy, and you had your forces and the opposing forces against you. And this was the first time I was exposed to the fog of war, where you couldn't see what was happening if you didn't have anybody there to see it. So if you didn't have a unit out there, potentially exposing itself, you couldn't see what was happening on the other side.
I remember a naval strategy game like that on the Game Boy.
This one was with tanks, and it was definitely on an island, and I want to say it was something island. But we were definitely on an island battlefield, and you had planes that could do a little bit, but mostly it was tanks and reconnaissance guys and jeeps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that game I played for hours. I just played it for hours and hours and hours. If anybody knows the name of the game, send it to me because I might want to try to look it up again. It was so much fun.
I guess I remember playing a lot of NBA Jam on the Sega in the mid-'90s. That was a favorite of mine. Of course, Sonic. Played a lot of the Sonic games.
Played a lot of Sonic.
I remember Keith eventually got the what was the modified Genesis called? The
add-on piece.
The 52X, the 32X, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
We played a lot of Virtua Fighter on that, which was
it was basically the Sega Genesis was like a 32-bit.
Yeah.
But you could take this other unit and plug it into the cartridge.
No. The Sega Genesis was a 16-bit. You could plug in this to make it a 32-bit.
I thought it was 32, and then it became 64.
No, the Nintendo was an 8-bit.
You're right. 16. So this made it 32. It was the 32X. Yeah, and then we played Virtua Fighter, which was the most realistic fighting game we had ever seen, Rob and I.
Yeah,
because we would go head to head with that, and boy, you could not imagine more blocky characters today.
Oh, it was awesome though. I remember that the guy I always played had no shirt and cut off pants and dreadlocks, and every time he'd win, he'd go, "I win!"
Yeah, that guy was awesome.
Loved it. So we played a lot of that. All right, so let's move ahead. Best PC game all time. Best PC game.
Oh, I gotta say the game I probably got enamored with and did the most with was a little known mod of Unreal that Rob and I used to play called XMP.
Yeah.
Which was a small community of people that played it, but boy, you got to know everybody in that community. You got to talk to them. You hung out online with them after games.
Yep.
Hosted your own servers and stuff just for each other because there was only a few of us. But it was such a great game. It was Unreal, but you had classes, and each class could do things and leave things behind and do different things too. And it was so much fun. It was team-based.
Capture the flag.
Capture the flag.
And it had vehicles too, right? And vehicles.
Yeah, they had the first light vehicles were in that. It was so much fun. Rob and I think in particular, we
logged a lot of time on that.
Yeah, a lot of time in servers and in clans. It was our first experience to really clan-based gaming.
We were in clans, yeah.
Yeah, BBF baby, baptized by fire.
That's right, baptized by fire. Oh my gosh, memories.
Yeah.
That is up there.
It's got to be my top PC game.
I'm gonna go with Warcraft 3.
See, I never played any of the Warcrafts very much.
Warcraft's very fun. People forget because kids today are so used to the MMOs, World of Warcraft, that it actually started off as a real-time strategy game, in the same vein as StarCraft. And Warcraft 3 was a lot of fun. I know, now that I'm hearing myself say that, can I really qualify that as the greatest PC game of all time? But I did play a lot of World of Warcraft. Or, no, I'm sorry, a lot of Warcraft 3. And I think it's still sitting in my desk here somewhere. I haven't played it in a while, but.
See, I went while you were playing Warcraft 3. I had been introduced to the first online MMO that I found.
Oh yeah.
To be really popular. EverQuest.
EverQuest, yeah.
I logged a lot of time and $9 a month playing EverQuest.
Yeah, that came out. Like I said earlier in the show, I lived with Keith and his wife for about 2 years, and EverQuest came out right towards the end when I left. And I remember him and Cindy having different PCs in the house and sitting down and playing that a lot.
We both play EverQuest, yeah.
Which is, when you consider what the internet speed was at the time, it was just ridiculous.
Actually, that's one of the things I miss about down there, is when we got broadband at the house, which was before you left, I think. We got Optimum Online, and they didn't know anything about caps, and they didn't know anything about meter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Throttling. Right. It was so fast.
Yeah.
Because nobody in Poughkeepsie had it, I guess. So it was just an open pipe between us and
just computer guys and gamers, really.
Yeah. So I mean, we were literally getting long before
this is before most people had email.
Right. I mean, we were getting ridiculous upload and download speeds.
Yeah.
I mean, we were getting gigabyte downloads long before, and now we're struggling to convince Time Warner to let us have that now.
Right.
We're blocky in this recording because of lack of internet. But back then, Optimum Online, it was how I was able to host a server for XMP.
Right.
It was because we had I built a little tiny machine that could handle it, and we had just a ridiculous connection at the house, so we could host 16 players at once in the server.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of Unreal Tournament, 2004 and XMP, so I mean, maybe that's the one. All right, last one. Modern console game. So, like, we're talking...
For us, we're talking the Xbox 360.
Xbox... You can go back to the Sega Saturn. I would consider that a modern console, even though it's like 10 years old.
Not the Saturn, the Dreamcast you're talking about.
Dreamcast, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
the
that's...
Dreamcast, PS3,
that's
PS4.
like 15 years old now.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, that was like right around 2000 that the Dreamcast was out.
That was such a great system.
It was. It was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite Dreamcast game of all time was Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi was awesome. I've got that on my phone now too. That's out on iOS.
The music is amazing. The gameplay was so much fun, and it was just a lot of fun.
We played a lot of Soul Calibur on that too. Soul
we
Calibur
did. That's one of my favorite games to play with my wife. The two of us will sit down still because we have it on the Xbox now and play Soul Calibur. The original one that was on the Dreamcast.
Wow!
They brought that out as a download through Xbox Live, and we have it. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. I tried to show my daughter it one day, and she's just like, "What? What is this? Why does everybody look so broken up? And how come it doesn't go to the full width of the screen? It's only a square in the middle."
I know, right?
Kids these days.
Oh, children! I got to go with Halo. I have logged the Halo series. I have logged a lot of hours playing Halo, and I haven't found a console game that is a shooter that is so immersive and gorgeous as Halo is, and it really does. I mean, I know it's a linear game, and I know it's it's got me going from point A to point B that it wants to, but it always felt to me the world was so big. It always felt to me like I could go off and do other things if I wanted to and accomplish the story in an order that I wanted to, rather than how the game wanted me to do it. And that just felt so new to me, and playing online too. I played a lot of, especially Halo 3. The multiplayer in Halo 3 was so cool, red versus blue. And now...
that's the first Halo I played.
Yeah. So Halo, and I might have to put a tie with it for Mass Effect. Mass Effect is easily my favorite RPG slash shooter that I've ever played on any console or any game. And
better than Red Dead Redemption?
Oh, yes, better than Red Dead. Although Red Dead's a great game. But Mass Effect, the story is, like, I hate to use this word again, but I will. The story is so immersive, and the character directions that you can take and literally change the story in so many different ways is just ridiculous. The amount of dialogue, the hours these people must have recorded to cover for all the choices you could make are just amazing. And the fact that I'm now in the middle of Mass Effect 3, and it will port not only your character likeness, which isn't a new thing for Mass Effect. Other games have done that before. So you can customize your look for your character, right? You can be male or female, and you can customize it. So my guy kind of looks like a Bruce Willis-y type, bald head and goatee, a little like me, maybe a few less pounds. And so not only
was Bruce Willis.
Yeah, exactly. So not only will it port your look over when you start a new game, it'll bring it over from the Xbox, but all of the decisions that you made in previous games, the branches that you chose, it also brings forward into the new game. So characters that you made choices about in previous games will react to you differently than, say, if you had gone left instead of right. So just knowing that, and that you could go back and play it a totally different way and have a totally different experience, Mass Effect is really, really cool that way. So when I finish Mass Effect 3, I am promptly putting all 3 games in a little package and sending them to Keith. So hopefully he will try them.
I will try them. I have actually moved my Xbox 360. It is no longer plugged into the main TV upstairs.
Yeah.
It is instead right there.
Plugged down here.
Yeah. Because honestly, once we put the Wii up there, I pulled this one because Arabelle would play a few games with me on it, but for the most part, if we're going to play a video game together now, we're going to grab one of the Wii games and play it.
Yeah.
So I just moved it down here because that way I can sit down. I've got this nice like 26-inch widescreen monitor that I can use for it, and it's me sitting at a desk in front of that. It's just like me sitting in front of a 16-inch TV 10 foot away. So
do you still get to put in much time on it?
I get to put in more consistent time down here than I was able to upstairs, because now all of a sudden, if I have free time, I don't have to worry about what kids are awake or might walk into the room.
That's true.
So I can play some of the more violent games without worrying about it, So I still don't have a lot of time to log in it, but it's more likely to happen now, I think. So.
I think we're probably close to, if not over, an hour. So maybe we should save our picks segments for next week. What do you think?
Yeah, we can push the picks. Yep.
So next week we're going to start the Keith Summer Brews.
We hope so, if everybody's back. Now, I heard rumor that Gary might be disappearing for a while.
Oh, my goodness.
So I don't know,
he's just disappearing into Oregon?
Yeah, he is becoming Oregon.
In Oregon.
Oregon becoming one with his organ.
Yes, as you should.
As one should. At certain points in your life, you need to reunite yourself with your organ. So...
We'll work it out. We'll figure it out. We'll get back to you.
Hopefully soon that will start, because I would like to do those before summer is over.
Yeah, we've only got another month and a half.
Month and a half, 2 months.
So, all right. Well, we want to thank you for joining us here at the Pioneer Return Show. Once again, you can visit us at PNRShow.com, leave some feedback for us, or listen to our shows. We're also over on the YouTubes. If you look up the PNR Show channel, we're there. Subscribe to us there. Leave us some feedback as we've gotten in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find us also on Stitcher.
We are on Stitcher.
For the moment.
There's no reason. There's no way to leave feedback there. But if you have that in your car or you like that on your phone, it's a great way to listen to us.
Absolutely.
But the video feeds are on YouTube and on the PNRShow.com website.
So thank you guys so much for listening to us. The Pioneer Return Show. We'll be back.
And live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me.
For me and Keith, Gary and Jeremy living in from the hinterland of California and Oregon. Drink more beer.
And we were kidding about Jeremy. Jeremy, please come back soon. We miss you.
Yes. Stop playing with your organs.
Stop playing with your organs and come drink beer with us.
Yes.